Now you're going to notice as we go through this song that it imagines God in different ways. There are all ways that are included in the Trinity, but they're in different ways. So first, it's very companionable. Jesus, our friend, our God, come to our hearts, and it brings in the image of nature. Come to our hearts, like rain, like falling rain. Then you're going to hear Spirit come to our hearts, and God come to our hearts, and that kind of thing. The idea behind this is twofold. One is that it opens us up to reminding us that we can image God however is useful to us, and also connects us to the natural world, that God is not just creator, God is immanent, divine, exists and shimmers in the natural world and in us. So, everybody up, and we're going to sing Jesus Come to Our Hearts. Nancy's going to lead us. Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Anthony.
Jesus, come to our hearts like falling rain. Come to refresh, come to renew, wash all our sins away. Spirit, come to our hearts like rushing wind. Come with your fire, come with your life, blow all our doubts away. Come, God, come to our hearts like shining sun. Come to reveal light in your word, drive all our gloom away. Rise and flee to our God, the three in one. Praise for the sun, praise for the wind, praise for the falling rain.
We're going to do the blessing of the peace. Thank you, Nancy. This is an ancient Christian tradition. As I always say, it's a way of acknowledging that you don't walk the faith or life path alone. You need to walk it with others who can help you, sustain you, encourage you. So these are the people you're walking with this morning. I'm going to say the peace of God be with you. We're going to call back and also with you, and then turn around and say hi to people. So here we go. The peace of God be with you.
And also with you.
Turn around and say hi to the people you're traveling with today.
Peace, you guys. Peace, everybody. Peace, Lenore.
Peace, peace, peace. And then you can be seated because we got a few announcements this morning. First of all, did you kick it with the book sale yesterday, Sarah and Joan? Did ya? Bev was here too. Yeah. So bring in your books so they can do it again in September. The book sale that we offer, I always say, is not just about raising funds, though yay for the raising of the funds, of course, but it's also about community. Such a beautiful atmosphere is created. The books are so beautifully laid out. The people that come here feel like they're going away with treasures, which they are. Sarah can point people in direction to books like nobody I've ever seen. And it's a wonderful community experience. So way to go, guys. And also everyone who helped with the flea, way to go for you too. So bring in your books, people. After church today, I'm going to go sit somewhere over there. And if anyone wants to come and share something that came up for them during the reflection or during church, you're welcome to do that. We've been talking about doing this for a long time. Max started it, but we haven't really done it, so I don't really know exactly what it's going to look like. But I think we should just, being summer, get our toe wet, stick our toe in the water, and see perhaps if this could be something or could evolve into something that we do on a regular basis so that you not only hear, but you can also talk about what came up for you. The United Church of Canada has done two things at our General Council, which has taken place in Calgary. General Council happens every 4 years. The first is a historic apology to us LGBTQ people. The United Church of Canada back in 1986 was the first religious group, first faith group, to make an apology to Indigenous people. That apology was used as a template by governments around the world who followed suit and apologized for harms done and committed themselves to a new way forward. This is the first time any faith group, let alone any government, has made an official apology to 2S LGBTQ peoples for the harms done and committed ourselves to a new way forward. Please don't underestimate how meaningful this is I'm thinking if I was a trans or gay person living in many countries, but including the one to the south of us right now, which is a scary place to be if you're trans, gay, whatever, hearing that there are faith groups, Christian groups standing up and saying, we were wrong and we commit to doing right. It's a big deal. So yay for the United, thank you, Jennifer's clapping. Yay for the United Church of Canada, And we have a new moderator. A moderator is elected every 4 years. I think it's very United Church that we have a moderator, someone who mediates. We don't have a chair, we don't have a president, right? We don't have a king or queen. We have a moderator. Her name is Reverend Dr. Kimberly Heath. We know a little bit about her. She is a minister from Eastern Ontario, that she has also pastored in Alberta. I read her speech to the General Council, very beautiful, very inclusive. We'll look forward to hearing more about her. She is the face of the United Church of Canada for the next 4 years, kind of the mouthpiece of the United Church of Canada. So we're excited to get to know her. Ways we love the world and how driveways can help. I think we also cannot underestimate what this place has come to mean in terms of truth and reconciliation projects. People come in all the time, see our murals, hear the story, and are struck dumb, are really so struck by how this faith group has lived into our commitment to truth and reconciliation. The same goes for our carved pew with the medicine wheel. The same goes for having Patty Krolick here with us and the talking circles that have been organized with Philip. It is so meaningful to us that Patty has asked to come back in September to launch her new book here. Philip has asked to do an art show here. And you may have heard that in September, during the Polish Festival, in conjunction with the DIA, we are going to be running a 2-day festival of Indigenous lacrosse, culminating with our playing an Indigenous lacrosse game here in the sanctuary on Sunday morning. Okay? This is a huge big deal. This has not happened other places. That has not happened other places. Indigenous peoples coming to churches and saying, I feel at home here, I want to be doing my stuff here, I don't think happens in a lot of other places. So thank you to everyone here for the open hearts, open minds that have had this happen. So what about this driveway stuff? Well, on the Saturday during the Polish Festival, we are going to have lacrosse clinics running, short fun clinics running outside in the parking lot for kids, for adults, with lacrosse experts. This whole program, by the way, is designed by a man named Jim Calder, who is an internationally recognized expert on Indigenous lacrosse. He literally wrote the book. So, and then on Saturday, we're going to have guys here, Indigenous players here, playing lacrosse. We need places for them to park their cars because they're coming from out of town, and you cannot park in our parking lot during the Polish Festival, right? So, if you have a driveway, or you know someone who has a driveway not too far from the church, could you please see if we could use that driveway for one of our guests to park their car Saturday between 10 and 3, and Sunday between about the same hours, okay? I will be reminding of you. I will be calling people I think might have a driveway or know of driveways. This is a way that we can make this experience very gracious for the guests who are coming to teach lacrosse, to play lacrosse, for the elder who will be introducing on Sunday, for the elder who's going to be the incredible elder who's going to be carving lacrosse sticks out in our parking lot, for the Toronto RUC lacrosse player who is Indigenous, who's going to be signing autographs. You'll get the whole program. They need places to put their cars. Let me know, okay? Okay, let's pause. Yeah, take a breath. Music within.
Mike.
I said I'm going to be talking about the 4 best Bible stories you've never heard of. Last week we did Bezalel. I did it. I turned it on. Yeah. It's never happened before, I know. It really hasn't. Who was filled with the Holy Spirit in order to be able to build the Ark of the Covenant. And today we're going to talk about Naaman the general. Where is he? Naaman the general. He's found in 2 Kings verse 5. I really love the Old Testament stories so much, which is saying a lot because they are weird and they're violent. And I always say, don't read them alone at night because they're just going to give you this idea that God is out to get you. And for sure you can find that in these ancient stories. But I love the Old Testament stories because the Old Testament is such an amazing, crazy collection of folk tales and miracle stories and legends and kind of something that looks like history but really isn't. I'm so sorry for Bible literalists. It must be very painful for them, the fact that, the chronology of Kings, for instance, when we get into the books of Kings, got nothing to do with real life, right? The chronology is all different. It's not there. There are cities in the Old Testament that are no longer in existence, which it says will stand forever, and cities which are still there, which it says God destroyed completely forever. I mean, it just doesn't hold up. As a piece of history, it doesn't hold up. What it does do, though, is it shows a people together and sometimes individually working through their idea of what God might be. How they can live, as I say, better with each other, better with themselves, and better with whatever this God thing is. We tend to think that it's a very dictatorial thing all the time in the Old Testament. And you can find that for sure. But there are also places where you see people living into a new way of being with themselves and others and this God things that's really different than just simple, you got to obey or you're going to be smited, okay? I mean, it's really different than that. It's a lot closer to the experience that we understand, that learning to live better with ourselves and others and this God thing is hard. It can take time. It requires a lot of help. And so that's why I love the story of Naaman the general. Now, if you read Naaman the general and you're like a Bible geek like me, 2 things just jump out at you, okay? The first is, Naaman is not a king. The book of 1st and 2nd Kings is all about kings. The people, let's say the people of Israel, are moving from being a tribal people, a kind of Bedouin traveling people, into a people that actually form cities, form more stable communities. They want a king, right? And they have a succession of kings. Most of them are terrible, like really, really bad. In fact, interestingly, the only 2 recorded kings that ever led the people of Israel and Judah, the twin communities, who were really, really good, are never mentioned in the Bible. Like, they're not anywhere. Like, we historically know that they actually were terrific people, brought prosperity, treated people well, uplifted them. They're not even in the Bible, okay? The people who are in the Bible, the kings who are there, are generally kings who really, really behave badly and they fall short. Okay? A few of them are redeemable, like, David is redeemable, or Solomon, but a lot of them just behave badly, fall short, don't serve the people. And kings is all about, you gotta be a better king or things will not go well. Okay? None of them get that. So I immediately go, why is there a story about Naaman in this list of kings? Because kings are going to come into his story, but they're not the main character, not even a little bit. So first of all, we got this guy who's a general, not a king. That's interesting. The second thing is, he's not an Israelite. Almost every story is about an Israelite in the Old Testament. That's what it's about. It's about how do we, as a people, interact with the world and ourselves and our God. Okay? He's Gentile, which means not an Israelite. The only other people I can think of off the top of my head who show up, well, the only other one is Job.
which is not good. So it's really unusual. We got this guy who's a general, not a king. We got this guy who's a Gentile, not an Israelite. Why are we hearing his story? But I will tell you, I think it's there because as these stories were told and retold and retold, people saw themselves in his story. They saw value in his story. That's what we're going to look for today. So I'm going to walk you through the story of Naaman. We start off with everything going super good for Naaman. It says party up there. Like really, really good, okay? I have searched and searched my mind for why he's called Naaman, by the way. It means pleasant. I don't know. I can only think it's this moment in his life. He's doing super well. He has conquered the Israelites. He's conquered lots of other people. He's at the top of his game as a general. You know, I mean, if they had ticker tape parades back in those days, they would be throwing them for Naaman. Everywhere he goes, he is lauded. He even stands up and he says, God likes me best because look what God has done through me. Which is interesting because this is being written by Israelites who got conquered, right? I mean, okay. But what the story shows us at the beginning is that Naaman, as a general, really has it going on. So I think about what would make him a good general. I mean, you guys can chime in if you want. You don't have to. It's hot. You just came here, you know, to sit and listen. But what are the things that would make someone a really good military commander? Anybody got anything? Sorry, I can't hear you, Shauna. Being a good listener? Really? I would love that was true, Shauna. Okay, I'm going to stick a pin in that one. Being a good listener would be good, but he would certainly listen to his other commanders. You're right about that. What do you got, Catherine? What they all have in common is they're evil. That's interesting, Catherine, because we would say that, and yet if somebody was fighting for our rights, if someone was fighting for our freedoms, if someone was fighting for the things we believe in, we might not think that. But yeah, the Israelites thought that about him. Yeah, because he did not care about other people, right? He just cared about his own people. He's ready to go out and slaughter other people. So you're right. Depends on your vantage point, for sure. Anyone got anything else? What do you have to be a good general? Strategist. You got to be able to think, how do I make this happen? What are the steps I need to make what I want to have happen, for sure. You got to be a good strategist. Anybody else got anything? Yes, Amy. Treat people equally? You guys have a fantastic view of generals. I don't know where you got it, but I love it. I would love to think they treat people equally, but what we more often see in a military thing is you have your place and you stay in it, right? You're a foot soldier, you shut up. You're maybe one of my counselors, and you can speak up. Yeah, Bev. Yeah. Good on you, Bev. It does make a good change, Bev. I'm with you. So I think for me, when I look at what makes a successful military general in this context, okay, is somebody who exerts their will, figures out what the steps are needed, doesn't care too much about the human cost, right? At least for the other side, maybe not even for your own side. There's certainly been those military leaders. There are those military leaders now. Doesn't care. There are those political leaders now. I don't care what the cost is even to my people. I'm going to get my agenda through. Able to push, able to control, able to force their will, right? All of those things. Naaman was a great general. So I think that's probably what he was like. Forcing his will, strategizing to get what he wanted, not caring too much about the human cost, not being able to care too much about human feeling at all, okay? And like structure and control. So, we know something's going to happen to Naaman, right? We know something's going to happen to Naaman. This is very much like my life where I'm going down the road one day and I'm going, oh, great, everything's working out well now. Never do that, right? Never do that. Because the universe goes, oh, time to learn something new then, right? And this is what happened to Naaman. So Naaman contracts a disease which is often translated as leprosy, but it's actually called terareth. I think that's how you pronounce it. Doesn't matter, it's super bad, okay? For those of you who are now hoping that I will offer a piece of leprosy trivia, I got one for you. Doesn't happen enough, I know. Leprosy did not reach the Israel area, the area we now some of us call Israel, until 325 before Common Era, when Alexander the Great brought his army back from India, and they brought leprosy with them. So prior to 325 BCE, leprosy was unknown in that area of the world. There you go. Bring it up at your next dinner party. You will amaze people. Okay? See what they know about leprosy. Okay. So Nathan, of course, who's been living the life, he's been the man, he's been using all these amazing skills, right? And it's worked out for him, and God has favored him, gets this extraordinarily dread, horrible, disfiguring, and shameful disease. And he's like, what the heck just happened? Why did this happen? That's our pull-up moment in life, right? For most of us, I hope it will not be leprosy, but it's our pull-up moment. The moment when all of a sudden we are stopped dead in our tracks. The moment when, things have been going okay, but all of a sudden I can't step forward anymore. I can't do what I was doing anymore. My life has changed. For some people, it could be a divorce. For some people, it could be losing your job, losing someone you love. It could be simply just the way you have been living, that finally you cannot do it anymore. And don't underestimate our ability to keep doing stuff that doesn't work for us. Okay? We are super good at that. We human beings will keep on doing the thing we're doing, no matter how much trouble it causes in our life, no matter how much it is clearly not getting us where we want to be, which is peace, which is love, right? We'll keep doing it. We'll keep trying to make this thing work. It could be an addiction. It could be a behavior. It could be an attitude to someone. It could be an attitude towards yourself. We'll keep causing ourselves pain until something happens, or it's a slow burn, and we simply can't do it anymore. We simply can't do it the same way anymore. We are almost there with the climate crisis. We are almost there where we can't do this anymore. But that's when we change. We saw it with COVID. With COVID, it tried to be contained, tried to be dealt with the same way it always had been. And there came a moment when when nations said, we can't isolate ourselves anymore from each other. We can't not work together anymore. We can't not talk about how to keep people safe anymore. In COVID, reaching that crisis moment when we simply couldn't go about our life as usual helped us work together. Not perfectly, but we did it. It may be the first time that most of the places in the whole world have come together to work on something. And that gives me hope for the climate crisis, let me tell you. We get to the point where we simply can't do it anymore, and that's where Naaman was. Because I assume that when he got sick, he first tried to hide it, right? Then he went out and got whatever people were selling, okay. What are you selling? Calf's blood, I'll take that, ew, this palm oil is going to help you, I'll take that. He probably did all of those things, right? He might have talked to his advisors, he might have done that, but this was very shameful disease, right? He was weak now. He wasn't the big strong guy. He wasn't what he wanted people to see anymore. He wasn't the way he thought he could be safe and valuable in the world anymore. But he probably did all of those things. And he had then his time out moment. I got a picture to show you. A number of years ago, there was a woman who was a member of this congregation. Her name was Marta. Marta drew me this picture. I hope you can see it a little bit. It's of a large hand coming down onto a city street, grabbing someone by the scruff of the neck and presumably pulling them up. I frame it for two reasons. One, because the meaning that Marta explained to me after she gave it to me, she drew this, is so meaningful. And the other is because Marta passed away a number of years. And the legacy she left in terms of her life was extraordinary. Marta was going along, living the life, working in movies, had a son, all happy, and Marta was diagnosed with cancer, stage 4 cancer. And Marta described this to me as her time out moment. All of a sudden, she felt like she was pulled out of her everyday life and said, now we're going to sit over here and we're going to think about what we need to do differently. And Marta said that as she went through all of the treatments, as she talked to all of the doctors, as she did all of that really important work, she also turned to her spiritual life, which she had never given much thought to before. She thought about, I don't only want to try to cure my body, I want to be different inside. I want to heal some of the things inside me that have been causing me a cancerous existence, is how she put it. I'm not suggesting that that gave her cancer at all. I only know that Marta said she felt that moment in time, her diagnosis was her time out moment when she was being asked, reflect on your life. What are the things that are not working? Where are the places that you're hurting you? Because you can only crucify yourself. And she spent a lot of time and energy working on her spiritual life. She felt that this moment was so significant. And the work she did on herself and her inner life, achieving peace, achieving a different understanding of who she was and what her place was in the world and her purpose, that she said that a friend had asked her, Marta, if you could go back and not have this diagnosis, but not have the spiritual learning about who you are, about how you want to be and live in peace in the world, which would you choose? And she said, I would take the diagnosis. She said, I was living in pain that I was not acknowledging and addressing. I needed, I wanted, I longed, I was given this chance to live in a different way. And when Marta passed away, I was actually there the morning of the day she passed away. She had such an aura of peace, and she had left so much peace and inspiration and love behind her that some people who have lived till 90 had never achieved anything like it. So this was Naaman's moment, right? He had done all of these things, probably everything he could do, since he was very capable of making things happen. And he has this time out moment where he realizes, I've got nothing left. I don't know where to go now. What can I do? I picture this man who's been so full of himself, so lauded, so honored, achieved all this success as we know success in the world to be, crumbling into this person who is suddenly vulnerable and human and helpless and hoping. And he does an extraordinary thing. He does a mind-blowing thing. Naaman asks for help. Not from the people who are selling oils and potions, not from his generals and his assistants and that kind of thing, people who might be able to strategize. Naaman asks for help from the most vulnerable people, the most disregarded people in his world. He asked for help from his wife, from a woman whose opinion was not valued, whose presence was maybe not asked for, and not only his wife, but his wife's servant girl, who had been captured during the war on the Israelites. Naaman asked for help from two women who have no power, who have no stature, who have no standing. Naaman is desperate. Someone once said, nobody comes to God, nobody comes to the asking for the spiritual life to begin, for peace to begin, without a certain amount of desperation. He asks for help from his wife and this Israelite serving girl. And they say, go see Elijah. Go see the prophet Elijah. He's in Judah, one of the lands you just conquered, right? One of the people you just obliterated. One of the people you just wreaked this horrible war on. Go see the prophet there. He's desperate. Naaman writes a letter talks to his own king. His king writes a letter to the king of Judah. The king of Judah, in what may be the first recorded conspiracy theory, thinks, what is happening here? Do they just want me to send him to Elisha, the prophet, to be healed? And when Elisha can't heal him, they're going to consider that a reason to commit war again. The king will have nothing to do with it. Elijah steps up, and Elisha says, no problem. Elijah doesn't even come out, by the way. Naaman goes to Elijah. Elijah doesn't even come out of his house, right? Elisha just says, go bathe 7 times in the Jordan River. And then Naaman acts like we all do. Naaman is annoyed. Naaman is petty. Naaman is sure he knows the best way to go. Naaman goes, well, why? My lakes are just as good as your lakes. Naaman is desperate and asks for help. And then when God says, here's what you need to do, Doesn't want to do it. Why doesn't he want to do it? He doesn't want to do it because of the voice in our heads, the fear voice that says, we still know best. We still need to be in control. We still have to do whatever it is so that people will think of us, we think of us as if we are, have some stature. We cannot possibly turn this over to God because it's too big, or God knows what we'll end up having to do. We cannot do this because we don't know if we're still going to look good in the eyes of the world. I mean, make up your own script here. It has come to be my belief that, we think all the time of ourselves. That's not a belief, that's true. But we worry most about the opinion of others. And that's where Naaman is. So when God or Elijah says, hey, just go bathe in the Jordan, river, what kicks back in is his ego saying, I know the best way forward. I'm going to strategize. I'm going to control the situation. And that's what we do, even though we know it didn't work for us. When I grew up in Baptist church, it was called the backsliding moment. If you did it, you were going to hell. I don't think so. I think it's the human experience. I think it's hard for us to understand that ego voice is not being helpful. That the voice of separation, the voice of I know best, the voice of you don't know anything, the voice of I'm not going to ask for your help, or I'm not going to take it. Asking for help is not giving up. Asking for help is refusing to give up. So Naaman had to sit with that for a while. And finally, Naaman admits that maybe other people can help him. Maybe he doesn't have to look great in the eyes of the world. Maybe he can accept another way of being. And he goes and bathes in the Jordan River, and he is cured. And then there's a little tagline where Naaman says, only the God of Israel is the real God, which is kind of weird because there hasn't really been a lot of God in the story so far. But for me, in the Old Testament, that's like saying, and they all lived happily ever after. So I apply this to my own life, and I think, where are the places that I am really living in pain? Where are the relationships? Where are my ways of being? And the stupid story that keeps coming up for me is so small, but I think so significant. Okay, a number of years ago, when I'm in the car with my wife, who is younger than me and cooler than me, I mean, that's not hard, right? She listens to Chum, okay, top 40. All right, Pink Pony Club, like that one. And she didn't listen to the lyrics. She didn't care about the lyrics. I listen to the lyrics. I'm a lyrics person. I'm a words person. There was a song that she loved, okay? And I said, what do you like about this song? And she said, I love it because, this guy, he goes into a restaurant, he meets this woman he used to date, and he realizes that, no, the woman who is coming to meet him is the one, and that, he's here for someone else, not for this waitress. He's moved beyond that. And I'm thinking, do you listen to the lyrics, sweetie? Because at the end, he talks about how he's running for the kitchen door of the restaurant to find this girl to tell her that she was actually the one and he's not letting her go. Like, it's total opposite of what Liz thinks. Liz has formed this lovely picture about what this is. Every part of me wants to do what?
Change.
Correct her. Thank you, Nancy. I'm giving this one to Nancy. Correct her. Why? Because the ego voice says, wow, you're going to feel so good about yourself. Wow, people are going to think you're so smart, right? Wow, you know something she doesn't. Wow, the ego voice. I'm like Naaman. I'm going to control this. I got this. I'm going to look good to myself if no one else, right? I'm going to do this. And what is the truth of the situation? The truth of the situation is, if I listen to that voice telling me what feels good, what gives me stature, I'm going to hurt the person I love. I'm going to take away from her this song that she loves. She's going to feel badly. There's going to be aftermath. I'm going to feel badly. My other idea, and this is such a small life thing, isn't it, is I could just shut up and say, honey, that's great. I'm so glad you love this song. And the ego voice screams, and I have just lived better with myself. And I have just lived better with my wife. And it helps me live better with the world, because I realize I don't have to be following that voice that says, be clever, tell them what you know, have your opinion, be like Naaman, control the situation. I can step back from those thoughts. And that's real spiritual help for me. That's a real way to live better, more peacefully, more lovingly in the world. I can not crucify myself in that moment. And that's what Naaman does. He learns to be happy. It's a big change, isn't it, from him valuing himself for what he does in the world, for what he does to the world, for the way he lives into the success story of the world, or for him to say, or I can be grateful and thankful and helpful and with the people who I love, who matter to me. Maybe I can see a different value in these people that I went out and conquered and slaughtered. You can't possibly see those people in the same way again. Maybe I can live from a different place, that I don't have to impose my will, that I don't have to be seen as so great all the time. Maybe I can instead live into a different kind of love and peace and kindness in the world. Maybe that gives me more power. But the kind of power I want, the kind of power that brings me health and happiness and personal healing in my life and relationships. So this is why I love this story of Naaman, because I live this story all the time. I want the idea that I, look successful in the world. I'm reminded that that can only be shattered or broken by different ways. Maybe someone just says something and I take it the wrong way, or, it's always all about us, right? I know that I always go back to saying, after God, I need help. Help me with this relationship. Help me, with this job situation. Help me with whatever, fill in the blank. I go back to saying, oh, but don't do that. No, I know best. I'm not doing that. And then when I finally surrender that horrible, big, important, wonderful, useful word and say, God, maybe you've got something to tell me. I'm going to listen to people I may not have listened to. I'm going to look for that voice that comes up that separates me rather than gives me a chance to offer love. When I do that, when I come back to that, then I am like Naaman at the end of this story. He is changed. He is deeper. He is greater. He is powerful in a better and more meaningful way. He ends up in the Old Testament, for heck's sake, even though he's in Kings and he's a general and he's a Gentile, not an Israelite. And his story, whoever he was, continues to be passed down and inspire us today. So I'm encouraging you. Go out and see where Naaman the general story is your story in your life. Where you need to not do anymore and allow God to change you into this. Share the story of Martha, who said her life became deeper and richer than she could imagine because of. The story of Naaman resonates through these centuries, thousands and thousands of years, because we still live it today. We still learn from it today. We still grow from it today. We find more peace from it today, more happiness from it today. And for that, I say, thanks be to God.
Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. That was beautiful. Source of love, source of life, God, Creator, by whatever name we call you and however we experience you. In our individual lives, here are the prayers of the people today. A welcome to Luca, grandson of Debbie Spencer. We celebrate with Debbie and her daughter and pray for health and happiness for Luca. A prayer for Mother Pearl, who is having surgery, and a prayer for Stephen. A prayer for Mary and all the McDonald family. A prayer for continued strength for Gail as she continues chemo. A prayer for those struggling with addictions. May they find peace. A prayer for healing for Lorna Luke, and for Rebecca for clarity, and for Amy for medical autonomy and deep breaths. A prayer for Luba for comfort, and for Barbara for strength. A prayer for Tova for a speedy recovery and resilience on the journey with her new prosthetic. A prayer for Alexis for her soul health and for her voice to come and fill this place again. A prayer of hope that the food supplies will reach the many starving people in war zones in the East. A prayer of thanks for all volunteers, like the people who help with Ronzi Flea, or the many dedicated people around the city who give of their time freely to help so many. A prayer of thanks, God, for the two little girls I saw on Roncesvalles yesterday. They were wearing gloves and picking up litter with tongs and putting it into garbage bags. Bless their sweet souls. It must have pleased you to see that, as it filled my heart. A prayer of gratitude from Sarah for a happy and successful book sale. A prayer of gratitude for the United Church apology for the 2S LGBTQ community and their commitment to the future. A prayer for Ian's friend Andrea, who we haven't heard from in a while. We hope she is safe. Dear God, a personal prayer from David here. You remember my voice. I have been doing the prayers here for a few weeks to help out Matt and Reverend Ann. Prayer helps me to remember that there are many in need who need your help and need you to hear their voice, which I try to pass on to you in my simple way. So I'm glad to be a message sender to bring these prayers. And God, I have a prayer of thanks because I've been negligent in doing so. I feel blessed to have found a new path I was not expecting. So I'm saying a prayer of thanks and love today for the people supporting me on that path. Reverend Ann, Matt, Jeanette, my sister Brenda, my circle of friends, the congregation here. A prayer of thanks for all these people, God. It is good to give thanks for those that support us on our journey and symbolically hold our hand and help us along. And today, God, I am sending up a prayer because although I am on a new journey and path, there are people who have gotten lost on their journey, who have gotten sidetracked or come to a fork in the road or have stumbled. It can be so easy to lose one's way in confusion and in doubt and in difficult times. We pray that you help those who are lost to find their center, to find their compass, to find their way back to the road they were on, to find the still waters, to find the rod and the staff guiding them. A prayer for them to continue on with their unique journey that was meant for them, and to be guided by hope and by love, and to be guided to decide which fork in the road is best, and to decide which detour is not right, and to find the support and encouragement that they need, and to believe that they can share their journey with others. Because we all share our journey with others, don't we? That is the beauty of it, sharing our journey with others. Because without others, without you, we are lost, like a lamb in the valley, like a sheep on the mountainside, like the poor wayfaring stranger knocking on doors with only a candle and a walking stick in hand. Thank you, God, for listening today. It's good to talk with you. We will talk again tomorrow and next Sunday. It's me, David, your newest student. And finally, God, we offer to you the names and concerns we have, not spoken here, but which we hold in our hearts, and we take a moment of silence now to share these with you. We make these prayers confident that your love endures in all lives, now and forever. Amen.
Thank you, David. God bless.
So I invite you to stand for our blessing and benediction. And we're going to sing a closing song, which is, We Shall Go Out with Hope of Resurrection. Nancy, do you want to come up and lead us? You're going to like this one because it's to the tune of Danny Boy. So you're all going to go, oh, I love that tune, I know that tune. It's a really powerful closing song because it says, we go out with hope that we can be changed. And by changing ourselves, we can help the world change as well. Starts in here, goes out there. We can bring to God the places where we are crucifying ourselves and know that we can live into the resurrection of hope and love and peace in our own lives. So, go out into the world, go with a daring and a tender love, bringing to God the things that are hurting and letting God transform them into your healing. And by that, you will heal the world. And so I say these ancient words, may the love of God, may the grace of our guide, Jesus Christ, may the fellowship and communion of the Holy Spirit rest and abide upon us, everyone, now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
We shall go out with hope of resurrection.
We shall go out with hope of resurrection. We shall go out from strength to strength, go on. We shall go out
informative week, RUC. We'll see you next.